Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Let's go ahead and jump into my Bitcoin Elliott wave analysis and let's go ahead and take a look at some of the harmonics that are on the table, the ways that we can trade them, and the next few key pivot zones to look for on Bitcoin. So if we look at the overall range here that we have been trading in, this is nothing new. We're still sideways consolidating here. We can assume that this is the wave 3 low and we're working on putting on the 4 if we haven't already. So a larger WXY right here. So we have our ABC, 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 and we can assume that it's a 333, and we have the WXY in play with the wave 4 top. Now, we haven't seen impulsive behavior at this current moment. There's potential for the wave 4 to be in because we could start to look at something like this on the table. So we have the fourth wave high, an impulsive one wave down. This is the 2, so we have our ABC in there, and then we're slowly just waiting for the trigger on the 3 down. So again, this would be a more wave 4 high top, and then we're building that fifth and final wave of the fifth of the fifth of the A. So this would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into lower support, sweeping the 60K low and tagging, the 616 or the 618 and the 66 down here in this zone, and this would be a completion level. Now, since we haven't seen impulsive movement from this, we can start to look at a few other things and consider, well, maybe this wave 4 high isn't actually in, and we are still in a bit of a wave 4 zone, and we can start to say, well, if it's not a 333, well, this could be a 335. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is the overall fifth wave of the diagonal into the wave 3 of this diagonal high that we'd be taking out. So overall, this is a very key level here. So we have our first, second, third, fourth, and fifth wave, and that would complete the 335 into the wave 4. And of course, there's some confluence above this level, but overall, you could just wait for this level to be swept here for a short, and we'll get into that here in a second here. So in terms of Elliott wave context, still, there's assumptions on the table. We can't say that this is a terminal wave 4 yet, and we just have to be patient in understanding where this is going and know that there is resolution around the corner. Now we have a few key levels on the chart here. We have 2 dailies. We have the MPOC that we shorted, and then we have our lower confluence here. A really big key level is the 97K anchored VWAP, so that's coming in from our 97K high all the way down here, and it's come down nicely. Now we can start to look at a few things within this range, and two of those is going to be a harmonic. So you have an X leg down to the B, and then we'd be looking for the scenario of this still being a larger, this is the wave 4 high, the A leg, right? And we've come down and we've made this impulsive move down, and we're working on A, B, C into the C leg of this harmonic down into this, right? So again, let me just pop that on the chart here. So this would essentially be just a larger wave 2 with an overall, A, B, C into that. So you would still have your overall 1, 2, you have your 3 down here into your 4, into your 5, into this support. So there's 2 really big things in this. This is 1 Elliott wave count inside of a 2 harmonic. And this is a bearish harmonic. So again, you have your X wave here, your A wave down to your B wave, and we're now looking for the C wave up higher into the daily without sweeping that A wave high, which is the 74K level. This, again, would be a scenario where people can get trapped. People think there's going to be a breakout. There's a lot of things that can happen here. I don't necessarily love that there's only just a daily here that you can play with, because there's a lack of confluence here. Now, it is nice because you have a clear invalidation zone, right? And you have the scenario where, okay, this is a valid harmonic that we're looking at, and this is the high here. So you have a really tight stop loss and a really good RR setup here if you're going to just look to try to play this daily here in the context of a harmonic, in the context that this is a 1, 2, 3, right, with an ABC involved in this. And that gives you a really clear, you just put your stops above the invalidation there and you look to play this as a short swing down into these lower confluence zone. Now, the other thing that we can look at, which is really nice, is the Fibonacci time. So you take from the A wave high down to the next pivot, so the B wave. And this is the, nothing fancy here, the 1-to-1 Fibonacci, so using the 2 and the 3. So you have essentially your 1-to-1 confluence that this has a execution time frame. So this would essentially be somewhere in this kind of zone here. So execution time and fib time aligns nicely here at the daily. Basically within the next 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours, we need to execute this, have a nice rise up, and then a short down into this, right? Which would take us to about Monday. And that would actually be a very nice scenario because we get them punch up. Friday, maybe trade around here and then maybe close the CME here for a continuation down, creating a gap, and then having price come down here. Well, that would be a really nice key confluence with a long trigger. Now, this is one harmonic that we're looking at. The other harmonic is similar, and it's still a bearish harmonic, but it plays into this as a shorter harmonic that sweeps the highs here, right? So you have confluence within the levels here. So if we take the 618 from the A to the B, right, this gives us the golden pocket of where this should, C wave, C leg kind of end up in. And that's great because you have the POC right here. You have the 618, the 66, and I love using the 72 as a nice little pairing with the golden pocket as an SFP. So you do have a nice little POC cluster there as confluence. It's not the best trade setup that I would love to take. I will still look to probably trade this because, I do want to capture, and I haven't taken any trades inside of this range. So I'm kind of, I'd love to play a 1% move, right? We played the 1% short setup here at the 71K high, and we're targeting, something like this down here for a 4%, a very small trade setup. And so far, it's come back up to entry. I've personally left my stops here because I've taken profit too at the weekly value view up, and I never moved it to break even since it's now at point. It's a 0.5% trade setup. I have a short running from here, and I have my long running from here, so I'm okay if I give up that 2R that I already profited off here just from this stop loss setup here, because I still would like to see in this scenario that we have here. And again, let's pair the Fibonacci levels into this. So we have the 1-to-1 fib extension here. So let's go ahead and look at that as well. So we take the X to the A wave. We have an execution time that needs to be completed. If we take it from the A to the B wave, we're already kind of past that zone, that time where it needed to kind of execute within that time frame. We should have had a move come down here, but we really didn't. And I wouldn't really classify this as a harmonic. The symmetry is in value. So if we do have some sort of, move down here first before coming up and tagging this daily, we could still look for something like this, and that would be valid. So overall, you have this harmonic and you have this harmonic. Two playing factors, two different scenarios, but overall captures the main theme, which is taking out the 60K lows. Whether or not you come up into this now and you don't take out the highs, that's a valid short setup. Whether you come up into this like this and you take the highs and lose support, that's a valid short setup. Either way, the overall highest probability, in my opinion, is still taking out these lows below 60K. And I do think that that's going to be a very rewarding trade if we do get that down there. Again, that's maximum value. And for anybody that's been patiently waiting, that everything happening in here is very, there's not a lot of reward trading in these zones. Sure, there's been some good intraday setups, and for people who trade like that, that's great. Obviously the trades that we've taken, so the long here, the short here, the short here, we've played this range very well, right? It's the same thing at a larger scale, taking out the liquidity here and playing the long setup here for the larger swings up here. Now, my opinion here is these are the two short setups I think are very key. You have the short setup at the daily, stops above the highs. You have the short at the SFP of the 74K. Nice confluence with the 97K VWAP. There's also the 0.5 Fibonacci there from the 97K pull. And you would just take a short trade upon losing, the MPOCO daily, and you would structure your stop loss above that high that was created. So if you see something like this, right, you get weakness here and you come down. All right, we'll take that short. We'll place our stops above the highs there, and we'll look to target that 60K lows. So those are the two short setups that I'd really be playing with, the two types of scenarios involved with that. And then obviously, you cake in the harmonics that are in play there, and you really look to just profit off of whatever scenario happens, right? Because we trade the reaction of these levels. We mark out these levels. We say these are key levels. Here's the liquidity. The liquidity is up here and here. There's not a lot of liquidity here. I mean, there is, but the big interest is here. And obviously, you have a lot of liquidity down here. So we mark out these key levels. We mark out the liquidity factors, and we wait and we play the right hand, the right setup, the right reactions. Again, the only reason I took one trade here, that was a very small 1% trade. It was an intraday trade. We took a very aggressive take profit 2 or take profit 1 here, and we're looking for a take profit 2, and that's not really a swing. That's just one to capture on the potential move that we had with the harmonic. So, again, just playing the key levels with inside the range and having a little bit of fun with that as well, right? So the overall plays is these two short trades, looking for higher before we see lower. Again, we have our short trade from here, right? We have it at the 73K MPOC that we shorted. So if we do start to see, this here, and we start to see, just simply we roll over and do the 1, 2, that's fine because we're prepared. We're in our short here, and we start to see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that lower support, and we are capturing on that move down. And it's the same here, where if you're still holding your long here that we took at the 618, right? We waited for that for a long time, and it's at the 7.2 SFP at 618. And if you're still holding that long, and I am personally still holding that long here, I am then capturing on that move up into here as well, and I will take profits. And again, the reason why I'm holding on to that long is because if we get the scenarios where all of this gets invalidated by a major squeeze and we just start to see something like this, okay, that's constructive price behavior. We could simply do that as well, and I'm prepared for that level because I'm holding spot here and I have my long here, and we'll essentially create that structure there. So no matter what really the market does here now, it's really just a matter of being patient and looking for the right placement and taking risks on the only levels that really do matter. And for me, that's why I'm very patient in a range like this. I'm going to short here, I'm going to long outside of value, and again, short outside of value. Again, I'm looking for a short outside of value. This is outside of value. And then look for longs outside of value, because that's where the expansion move happens. You put yourself in a position of the assumed pivot level to counter trade the trend. And that's really where your biggest profits are going to come from. And that's really just what swing trading is. And on an asset like Bitcoin, you can clearly see the liquidity engineering, the manipulation, the bulls and the bears fighting each other here, and just the overall, value that's created within this zone here. It's not a great one to trade if you're doing swing trading. You have to play it very strategically. So again, these are the levels that I'm looking for. Just to end this, just to end this stream here. Just a quick recap. Again, I'm looking for this high sweep here, caked into with this harmonic that completes the 335 scenario. If we don't see that and we see a move and we don't take out the high, again, still looking for this harmonic, and that is the 333 scenario built in with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave, for the fifth of the A wave into our big key long weighted interest zone here. So again, I'll leave you on that note, and I hope this helps, and cheers, happy trading.